approved 3 square feet, you have to buy a second slab of quartz. So they don't necessarily use all that, so you end up with a remnant. So you end up with leftover that's already prepaid by the customer, essentially. So Niagara Countertops, my partner Dave there, he has a warehouse full of 500 of these. So the goal is to pre-cut these in pre-cut sizes. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Build-A-Bear. Yeah? It's like Build-A-Bear for vanities. So we'll have sizes for vanities that customers can come in. It's kind of on a cash and carry basis. This is along with what we're doing now. The premise behind this is they can walk in and say, I want that vanity in that size, in this color, and then they can pick out remnants. So this is going to be a big facet of our business moving forward. And so this is where I think the marketing and pulling it all together and getting the idea that we're a one-stop shop. So we have a big, beautiful showroom that people can come in and kind of put it all together. Generally, the businesses that do what we're presently doing, they work out of a garage. They have a very indiscriminate shop. It's not as well put together as what we've done. So I want the quartz to be almost as primary as the refinishing business. With that being said, I'd like to change the name to 9 Lives Custom Kitchens, because we're really a one-stop shop and we're doing everything. So it's more than just a refinishing business. The reason I wanted to go on that route, I had scaled last year. I opened up another business. It required too much staff. The overhead got insane. I want to scale, but I want to scale using other companies. So I'm using rental people, contractors, whatever other skilled trades to kind of amp up what we're doing, but using their workforce. So we want to be able, I guess the marketing plan is to be able to get across to people that you can come here and basically have everything done. Because what I'm finding is when I go out and do a quote for a kitchen refinishing, they want quartz, they want this, they want modifications done to the kitchen. So I'm trying to utilize all the other trades, getting the job done without me having to hire more staff to do it. So the premise behind the quartz remnants, nobody's doing that. You have other businesses. In Welland, for instance, it's called Build It Again Ron. And they put it together. But this way you can kind of put together what you want with the quartz remnants. We also, in the custom kitchens, I've been working with them, but we'll do full kitchens as well. So it's the refinishing, full kitchens, quartz countertops, quartz vanities, hardware, and all the other skilled trades that go along with it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions right now before I start asking some? Go ahead.
You just said you just changed your name of the company you are planning to change.
I haven't changed it formally yet, but that's where I want to go. And hopefully, with what you folks come up with, maybe that can be part of the plan.
But in the future, if you want to specify or make your line of giving the services wider, so doesn't you think it will get into a way?
It would get into a what?
Into the way of making your business more wider on the concept. If right now you are basically on the kitchen, refurbishing, modification, and etc. But in the future, if you just try to widen your concept and help with modification of the houses, interior, so the name would not be in the way.
The new name?
Yeah.
No, because I think that's what we're really doing. We're doing custom kitchens. Because I can offer a full new kitchen as well. So we're doing all the different components of renovating a kitchen and bath. Did that answer your question? Yeah. So it's not called that now. It's not called custom kitchens now. But with all this addition of all this other stuff, I'd like to maybe encompass that name and take care of all the other stuff.
If I can just add to that, one of the things that happens a lot of the times, at least with consumers. When I used to hire people to come in and do work for me, I would never hire somebody I didn't know to do a whole kitchen. That's an accident waiting to happen. What I would often do is hire someone to do one of my smaller bathrooms first, or I would order part of the vanity, or sorry, part of the pantry, something like that. And so the idea of a whole kitchen place is that you get people who will come in for the smaller jobs, and you show that you're reliable for the larger jobs. Because a lot of times, especially when times are good, the world's full of people who go on Kijiji and say, "I can do your kitchen," and 6 months later, you're out $5,000, and the person doesn't return your calls. So it's really tricky to find the right people, and when you find them, you stick with them. When I was in London, I had a plumber. I used my dad's plumber. I was doing business with this guy probably 35 years until he retired, because there's just too many guys out there who hang out a shingle and they don't know what they're doing. So, when you're running this sort of business, you don't want to just do $20,000 kitchens and above. You want to do some of the littler stuff, so you can get, somebody, maybe I'm just putting in a room for a student and they want to have their own vanity or something like that. You start that way. You can do both, basically, is the idea. Is that right?
Yeah, no, you're right. So what happened is I actually developed another business, another association, another website. It's called the Niagara Business Support Group. Now, the person who launched it for me went MIA on me, so it's kind of at a standstill right now. But the whole premise was that to have vetted businesses that work along with me, that we all work as a community. So that's essentially what I'm doing here. So how this ended up, I went into this just to do the refinishing of furniture and kitchens. But when I go in and do a quote, they say, "Oh, I'm getting countertops." So, okay. So we've added that. It's been a major component to the business. And what I like about it is I don't have to add any staff to it, because a different company goes and does all the installs. I essentially sell it. And the same thing with the other things. But with the other ones, I stay out of their pocket and they stay out of mine. It's a vetted referral system. But when they have trust in me, when I go in, they'll hand all that other business to me, and I'll coordinate it. So I essentially end up acting as a contractor.
So the idea is he's almost like the conductor for an orchestra. And that's something that, again, if I was going to build my own house, I have some skills, but I'm not qualified to run all of the trades that would build a house. So I would hire a general contractor to handle that, even though I may do some of the sort of lower level work myself. Okay?
So we stay in our wheelhouse, and I get other people that stay in their wheelhouse. We're not paying each other, we're just helping each other. Because a lot of that work I went and did a quote this morning before I came here. I can't do my part until something else was done. There were some modifications that were required to do in the kitchen before I was able to go and do my thing. So if you can do all the lead up things, and then you'll get the job. But the other person's going in and saying, "No, we just do painting, that's it." And the person's like, "Okay." But the people that I deal with are basically retired, affluent, they're the perfect clientele. They don't want to do this stuff themselves. I'm not looking for DIYers. With the countertop, what I was talking about with the remnants, that's contractors, that's reno guys, that's flip guys that come in and they just got to put a vanity in for somebody, or for the student housing, or whatever the case might be, and they just say, "Give me that one, that, and that," and off they go with it. So that's a little bit different.
Okay. Now, one of the challenges, this is a first year class, so it would be way too much to bite off for them, because we only have 4 months to do kind of all of that. If you were to break it down into maybe 2 specific areas, what would those 2 areas be that you wanted us to focus on?
Refinishing and quartz.
Okay, refinishing and quartz.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, any other questions? I'm just going to ask you one more question, because you hit on something I talked about before you got here. How does it feel when you go into a project knowing that the other person had to be done by 12, so you could start at 12:30 if that person's not done yet?
Well, I coordinate that, so that's where I'm in the driver's seat. So that wouldn't happen because it would be coordinated through.
And what happens if it does? What happens if I agree to show up at 11 to you and I show up at 12:30 with an excuse? Am I going to work for you for long?
Everything first basically gets the floor.
Yeah. But what if they just don't?
Then you just, we can do it either way. Like we're malleable that way.
Okay, so you go around them.
You go around.
Yeah.
You
So
work around. Like you're always working around. You know that being in construction. It
Yeah.
never goes the way that it should.
exactly.
When
So
it does, then you're nervous.
That's the kind of thing I was trying to impart to you guys about why time is so important. Yeah, in class, like I said, there's really no consequences other than me yelling at you. But on a real job, if I was making my own house and somebody who was supposed to pour the cement footings showed up 2 days late, that means everybody else has to be late, or I have to adapt to it. And I hired them so I wouldn't have to adapt to it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not in construction anymore, because I just don't have the patience for that anymore, as you may realize when I get a little grumpy in class.
And that's why I'm not in construction either.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't
That's
know how they do it. It's a nightmare.
yeah. I've you can look at my hands and you can see even just doing stuff around the house, I can't do it much longer. All right. Well, if there's no further questions, what we'll do, two things. The first, I've videotaped his presentation, and what I'll try to do is run it through some software so I can get the transcript, and you guys can look at it whenever you need. Now, the first part of their project is just market research specifically, so we won't need anything from you probably until the middle of October, and that's when their second level stuff will start happening. I might have some more questions for you and that sort of thing, if that's okay. Can I just get you to hold that on him for a second, because I got. Thank you. Making you drive all the way to Welland and back here. Yeah, no, that's my fault.
Neither one of us works like that.
Yeah,
It's suiting that we have one
exactly. I think you can find a straw down the hall and.
for lunch. Perfect.
So thank you very much for your presentation. We're looking forward to working with you, and hopefully by the end of the semester we'll have some really good work for you.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Thank you.